Hi everyone, good afternoon. Jody and Reed here. Today I'll be talking about building better communities in tech, building from the ground up. If you look around you, chances are you're seeing someone who looks like you, who speaks like you, who understands your experiences. For many of us, especially as we live and grow in the places that we may have been born, we find that we already have a pre-made community. For others of us, as we move through life, as we go through career changes, as we change roles, we sometimes look around and find that there's no one like us. There's no one who truly represents us. We feel like a fish out of water. So I'm going to speak about a friend of mine. She moved from the country where she was born, that she grew up in, and that she lived in 6 years ago. She moved to another country where she did not speak the language. She did not know the culture. She did not even know where the country was on the map. While they were working in tech, she noticed as she looked around the cafeteria, she looked around her office, she did not see anyone who looked like her, who had her background, who represented her. There was just no community for her. Of course, she was sad by the idea that, I'll always be here, I'll never fit in. She looked a little further and she found that hey, there were other people too who did not have a community. There were women who felt like they were so out of place because for so many years, other persons have told them that their place was just not in tech. There were other people from other countries too who did not feel comfortable. They didn't have a community. They didn't speak the language. They had no one who understand their cuisine. And there were people from different religions who just did not get it. There was no one for them to hang out with, to talk to, and to share their experiences with. Again, fish out of water. So what did she do? Well, she could join a community if there was one, but in this case, there wasn't a community that truly represented what she was. So she decided to build a community. There are many reasons to build a community. And you may ask, why would you want to build a community anyway? And who will benefit from this community? A community should start with you, but it should not end with you. Yes, like the person I'm talking about, my friend, she saw that she didn't have a community, but as she looked around, there are other persons who didn't have a community as well. And then she thought, these persons, let me talk to them. Let me see what they're missing. And let me see what we can do together by building a community we can all grow from. In this case, the first community that came to her mind was a woman in tech community. In her tech community, by talking to other persons, she realized that many of the women did not feel like they had a straight career path, or they felt like imposters in the place that they were at. This was an opportunity to create a community that so many women in tech could benefit from. So there are other kind of communities, right? So what kind of community could she build? You could always build a community that already exists. There's a community that already exists, like the Google developer groups. There are so many other communities that all you need to do is look at that template and create one where you are. You can create a community based on what you aspire to be. Yes, you want to become a data scientist. You want to become a pilot. You want to become a software engineer. You can create a community just on the basis of that. If you look at the 100 day of code, many persons are following this because they aspire to be engineers one day. You can build a community based on who you are now and what you do. As a software engineer, as a QA, as a program manager, you can build a community around that. You could also build a community based on people who you think need support. If you look at Black Lives Matter, some of those groups are based on the fact that there is a group that we think needs more support than others. In terms of a community you want to build, right? I mean, I broke this down into four main communities that I see you can build if you are a part of a company, or you have your own company, or you're out in the community itself. There are employee resource groups that you can build with the backing of your current company. It is said that between 900 and 13,000 is spent on ERGs per person every year for large companies. So find the stakeholder, find what their interests are, and see if there's interest to build an employee resource group from the ground up. For my friend, she approached the CEO and she told him, hey, she had an idea for a woman in tech group. She saw the need. She brought the use cases. She brought forward what support she thought she would need from the company, along with a budget and her own plans to have fundraising over time. The CEO agreed, gave his buy-in, and the group was formed. There's also a developer community affiliated or unaffiliated groups. So a Java dev community, a Python dev community, a DevOps dev community, any kind of community you want to build. There are also community of practices centered around an area of knowledge and building that knowledge. And there are also special interest groups, such as your Women in Tech, your Cybersecurity, your 100 Days of Code group. There are many kinds of communities you can build. Look for the need and build one. But to build, you can do it alone, but it's always easier when someone is there with you. So what about a sponsor or an ally? An ally is someone who understands why you're doing what you're doing and believes in you and supports you. A sponsor goes a step higher by bringing you to the right persons and potentially giving you financial support for your group as well. Connect with others. Show people your idea for what you want to build. In the case of my friend, the CEO was the best sponsor she could ever get in terms of ensuring that her idea hit the ground and everyone saw the importance right off the bat. An ally doesn't have to be exactly like you. I have to say, they don't have to look like you. They don't have to talk like you. The person just has to believe in what you are doing. There's always someone who feels left out, especially in a large org. And if there's a need for that, finding an ally will help you to bring all the persons on board for your community group. And also, once you have an ally, once you have a sponsor you're about to launch, how do you go about doing that? Preparing for your community launch, it can be nerve wracking. So you saw the need for a community, you got your idea down on paper, you got it down in video, you now have an ally, you now have a sponsor, or you're going it alone. Prepare for your launch. Bring your idea forward. Invite your sponsor or your rep to make sure that persons who are there at the launch see the importance, and this is super critical for if you're doing an internal community. Create your branding, create your mission. Let people know why you want this community. It's not about you, so let them know what exactly this community is about. Set the cadence. We're going to meet monthly, we're going to meet bi-weekly. And a great way to get people involved in your community for the long term is to have hosts. It could be treasurers, it could be persons for the social media, etc. It could be someone for setting the invites. Get buy-in from the persons you want to be a part of your community. Once you have your launch, the idea is out there. Everyone knows what your group is now about. Now you have to keep it going. In the case of my friend, so once she had a launch with the CEO and everyone there, right, showing their support, having an initial launch, the room was packed. Everyone wanted to come to hear what this was about. There were women, many women, almost all the women in the company, and men, of course, because they were curious. Now that you have built up the momentum, you have made promises around how your community is going to help. You have to keep going. Keep the momentum up. There are going to be times when you have to stop, right? You have to be focused around the community you're trying to serve. So there are times during holidays or when there's trauma in the community or when there are some other celebrations going on where you may not be able to have normal meetings, right? But communicate this. Communicate this that these are exceptions and keep the momentum going. With your meetings on plan cadence, ensure that you don't have other cancellations right before the time. Keep people interested in your community because you're going to need volunteers as you build and as you grow. And as you plan and as you do, every voice counts. Communities need moderators and leaders and coaches, but everyone should have equal voice. So let people speak. Let people speak about the options to improve where they're not being heard, where their needs are not being met, but do not lose your mission. You can evolve it, right? Of course, you have to adapt, but keep your mission going. And to keep your mission going and to ensure that every voice is there, you have to maintain a safe space. Safe spaces are critical to maintain the psychological safety of your group. And this means Do whatever it is that you can do to help build trust in your community. For my friend, what she did was she had regular meetings with her core group to ensure that they felt like we were on the right track. You create partnerships with people inside and outside of your group to ensure that you had what you need in terms of communication, in terms of buy-in from other partners as well. One of the examples is that to have this meeting, she needed the games room. She needed the games room for the women in tech community. And this games room was always filled with people playing ping pong and video games. And she had to create a partnership with the people around her for them to understand that why we need this room for 1 hour every month. And creating a safe space also help others to lead from the back. So creating a safe space allows other leaders to step forward so that you can step into the back so your community can go on whether you are present or not. The best communities build themselves. What this means is that you should not be providing incentive to join, as in nothing financial. You're not coming and okay, once you join, you're going to get an iPhone or you're going to get a cruise, etc. Have people come because they believe in the mission and the vision. Create self-development opportunities. This means, as I mentioned, have other leaders step forward to take the mantle so that eventually they can become leaders and form their own communities themselves. For people who my friend, led and taught in that group, they have gone on to other companies as well, and they have seen the vision and they've seen how a community is missing in their new workplaces and have gone on to create communities themselves. So create self-development among everyone in your group so people can go on and build other women in tech communities, another communities of people of Asian descent or African descent or Jamaican descent or 100 days of code or Java or program management communities of practices. For your group, it's important to connect. Connect in person, connect online. It's COVID times. We're doing everything virtually. You are watching this virtually right now. For your group, keep the momentum going. Social media pages, mailing lists, Slack, whatever channels you need to do. When we're back to in person, try to have small meetings when you need to flesh core ideas out to ensure you have the ideas that you need to move forward. So you can get ideas from everyone, even people who are too shy to share their ideas in the open crowd. And of course, when you go big, go big. Ensure that there's knowledge to share. Ensure that people feel empowered. Ensure that people feel like they're learning something when they come to your group. So now that we've gone through all of this, right? I think it is time that I tell you. You may have realized, right? My friend I spoke about is actually me. When I moved from Jamaica to Costa Rica 6 years ago, I felt like a fish out of water. I did not have other Jamaicans around me. I didn't have people who looked like me in the company, who talked like me, who had my experiences, who I could share my group with. And though me lacking a community seemed to have been a personal one at that time, I thought, oh, I wish I had people to share jokes with. I looked around and I realized there were other expats, there were other persons who did not have a community as well. And being in the workplace, it was a great way to have a community in a safe space with backing from other people. So I did approach the CEO. I told him, hey, I noticed that many of my peers, especially my women peers, they felt like they did not have any career growth opportunity. They felt that there was no mentorship opportunity. They felt like, things was just stuck for them. They think that there are skills that they could learn, such as negotiation, planning, skills outside of their areas, right? Where they can develop and they can have that community. At this time, the men seemed to have dominated the games room, but there was no space for the women to get together and have fun and grow. So that community came out of that discussion. That community came out of that need to build a community for myself and then seeing that, hey, so many other people needed a community as well. This led to me creating other communities for people who are expats, for people of African origin, working in other pre-built committees, right? Working in other ERGs, helping to set up conferences for the entire Latin America region. representing my company in Afrotech and so many other areas. Because for me, a community is super important. Building a community from the ground up can be a passion project, but it's also a means to connect and grow even yourself as a leader in your area, in your field, and giving so many people who now feel that are imposters as developers, imposters as program managers, imposters as they learn machine learning, etc., giving them a space to learn and grow. Now that we've had this talk, go build an awesome community. We spoke today about how to manage feeling like a fish out of water. We spoke about how to determine who needs the help. We spoke about finding the sponsors, getting them on board, launching your community, and then maintaining that community. Go build an awesome tech community. Thank you for watching. Go and check out my LinkedIn. You can connect with me, my personal blog, which I need updating, and also my website, crackthestack.com. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.